everybody, and welcome back for a brand new episode of Horrifically Horrifying, presented by the HCA. My name is Heather Wixson, and of course, I'm joined this week by my co-host, Kevin Taft, and we have a super special guest on tap today. We are joined by none other than Kelli Maroney. Hello, Kelli.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yay! We do little claps for our guests.
Claps for you.
Yay! So first of all, thank you for doing this. It was one of these things where I was looking at the calendar and I realized, oh my goodness, we are upon 35 years of Chopping Mall, which we can see some fun Chopping Mall action happening behind you right now.
Yep. It's one of those, it's behind me, isn't it, moments. Yeah. I put it there. So I was just saying before we started that we're friends in real life. So a lot of that's, showbiz stuff. Well,
you guys are very convincing on camera. The animosity was very, very convincing on camera.
Good actor, yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin and I talked about the fact that we really loved this movie, and of course your career in general, I think, is really fun. And I know we want to sort of dive into that. Kevin, I feel like I always sort of take first question on these things. So I want to let you jump in first, even though technically when this airs, this is my birthday episode. So I'm really excited because it feels a little extra special. So this is a really fun way for me to get to celebrate.
So now you make me feel bad for starting.
No, not at all.
Thanks,
Are you
Heather?
That's the thing. I've gotten to know Kelli over the years, and I know she's an absolutely lovely person and an amazing person to talk to. So I want to share that with you, and I want to let you jump in first as we celebrate Chopping Mall.
You know, we should at some point sing happy birthday to you, because when it airs, then it'll be your birthday, and
That's true.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm not a good singer, but
I should get like a cupcake or something.
Take one for the team. I have frosting.
Put them on top of your
I have a bag of cookies somewhere, the little Pillsbury cookies. But
you know what? I will light you a candle and you can virtually blow it out.
Okay. That might look funny on camera, but I'll take it.
Can I go get it now or no?
Well, we're live.
Oh,
so
we're not. I guess we are. Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate the sentiment. I think that's lovely. So thank you guys. But this for me is a really fun way to get to celebrate. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So I don't. You're putting me on the spot, but I do have to say something first, because I'm a little excited about this. Because growing up in my teen years, actually even in college, I had this group of friends. We all worked at Caldor, which was like a camera. And this girl, Lisa Myatt, who I told her I was interviewing you, every time we had, like, her parents were away, we're gonna have a party, and we would just, I don't know why, in the 80s, for some reason, like, the big thing is we just rent movies. We weren't like drinking a lot or whatever, we just watch movies. Every time she would rent Night of the Comet, every time. And I cannot think of Night of the Comet without thinking of Lisa Myatt. So Lisa Myatt, this is for you.
Hi, Lisa. Shout out to Lisa.
Yay.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, no, she loved that movie, and because of that, I've seen it so many times, and I love it too.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
But as Chopping Mall, I will admit, even though I'm a horror junkie, as far as I remember, I had never seen it until last week.
Really?
So it was fun to see it, and it was actually fun because now that I live in LA, I was started to recognize stuff. And then I was like, wait, that's the Beverly Center. Wait, that's not the Beverly Center. And that was cracking me up too. But I was actually very interested in kind of how, the whole thing takes place in the mall. So how did you guys film that? Did you do it after hours? When things break, did you have to clean it up before people started shopping?
Yes. Oh, yes. Like? Well, the reason that it starts at the Beverly Center is we were going to use the Beverly Center. And for several different reasons, we couldn't, technical stuff. And then also, I'm sure that what we had going for us was the gallery, the person who owned the gallery, this guy loved movies, and he made it so easy for people to come in there and shoot. That's how Fast Times was there. Not Night of the Comet, but Chopping Mall, and many movies in the 80s, because he wanted that to happen. So he would allow things that I think other malls would have clutched their pearls about. But we had to, we didn't shut the stores down, obviously. So we would wait for the stores to close, and then we would rush in, set up, shoot like maniacs, and then we would have to, not the actors, but the crew would have to have everything put back together again and not have broken anything. And we'd all have to be out of there so that they could open the stores with no trace of us. And Roger Corman's crew, they did it, but I think they're the only people that could have done it. I mean, I don't know how they did it to this day. And we took a chunk out of a post, and there was a guard there, Pat, and they called it, I guess, Pat's post. I didn't hear about this till afterwards because the guard was just, don't touch the post, don't touch the post. So of course, that's what happened, is they took a chunk out of the post. So they had to replace, repay for that to be fixed. But other than that, surprisingly enough, we really didn't break too many things that I know of. And that's what we did. So every morning on the California, on the freeways, everybody's going to work and I'm coming back home. So yeah, it was odd, but that's just how we did it. It never occurred to me that they should shut them all down or anything like that.
Right. Did you guys, was the store that you were in an actual store, or was that like an empty store that you guys made over?
No, that was really in the mall, the furniture thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really a store. And the pet shop was really, Roger's Little Shop of Pets was a store, and Peck and Paws Hardware was a store. The only thing that we shot outside was when I blew up the paint store. That was at Roger's. Roger used to have this cool studio in Venice where that existed so people could blow stuff up and everything. And that's what we did. We did that there because although they did set the stunt woman or stunt man, sorry, the stunt guy who went on fire, we did shoot that in the mall. I don't know how they did it.
Wow.
Think of it.
Especially without sprinklers going off or anything.
I don't know how they did that. I just remember thinking at the time, I said, how much are they going to pay somebody to set themselves on fire? Because I was a kid, they went like $500. I went, for $500 or somebody's going to set, I don't think so. But they had flame retardant. I watched a little bit, as much as I could, of how they prepared for this. And I suppose there's no way that they actually get hot, but we almost got an X rating because the guy was able to be on fire for a long time. And it was, they decided it was so gratuitous and so nasty to sit and watch this person burn to death that they were going to give him an X unless they shortened it.
Wow.
As it is, it still goes on a long time. If
Yeah.
they shortened it. I think Jim just figured, hey, as long as he's going, just keep rolling. With, rather than ask him to do it again.
For sure.
That's true. Right.
Well, so, but they did they ever give you guys problems with like the head, with Susie's head exploding? Like, was that just because it was so quick that they didn't?
Oh, that was a whole thing. They had this
Okay.
bed and it was full of God only knows what animal parts, and it was nasty and it smelled terrible. And they had to be aware that they had to be so ready that because they were only going to get a couple of chances. But I remember her running up and down the hall. They had her so far away that she couldn't hear them yell action, and so and Jim would go, "Can you hear me, Susie?" And she'd go, "No," which made them laugh because if she can't hear you, how can you answer? But that's not how it works, and so that thing, and we were all standing there because we would have watched it anyway, but they had to cut to us and everything. And that was a day. All right. But I guess it was worth it because when it first opened, I guess in Manhattan, outside the theater for Chopping Mall, they just showed, they had a television set of the head exploding over and over and over again. So,
really?
Yeah, which I wasn't there for that. I was here in Los Angeles. So yeah, that's what they did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I've always wanted to ask, because again, when I was watching this and Night of the Comet last night, I mean, we all sort of know what sort of the archetypes of 80s horror are. And there's a lot of times when like female characters are sort of perceived in a certain way. But I think what's really great about Chopping Mall in particular is barring, Leslie and Mike, the characters in this movie are really proactive and they're really smart and they're really animated and they're not just sort of sitting there waiting to be victims. And I'm curious, when you were looking at this, was that something that sort of like stuck out to you when you were reading, your character of Allison, like that she wasn't just sitting around waiting to be taken out by robots. That like, I mean, obviously Allison really drives the narrative once we get to a certain point, but all of you guys, you know, up until the point where the body count starts to rise, like everybody's really sort of gung-ho in this and really, you know, trying to figure out how to survive, how to, you know, defeat them and make it out through the morning.
Yeah. Well, there was no sense of, oh, we're victims. As a matter of fact, I noticed because I didn't even know. I mean, I just thought I was going to have one great part after another my whole life, because that's what happened. You know, I started working professionally and all of a sudden I got so many great parts in a row, but they weren't victims. And then in the 90s, there was a lot of victim parts. And I remember doing one actually, and I died one time in my life and I hated it.
Mm.
I felt like I was letting the kid down. You know, I was supposed to be committing suicide, and my little boy was going to find me. It was for an episode of Chicago Hope. It was with Mark Harmon, but him as a little boy. And I thought, I'm letting this kid down. I'm letting the audience down. And I guess that when they cast you as a final girl, they see something that maybe they feel something about it. Like she's not gonna let that happen. That's just like sort of in you or something. Because I don't know why I kept getting cast like that. I mean, I had a really great, what they call today a brand, but I didn't even know I had it at the time. It was very clear, I guess. Not to me, but to everybody else. So to these people, I guess. But I knew that I mean, it was so, if you're the only person going, let's go, let's go, let's go, and everybody's like going, no, 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 that's no fun. So it was great that we were all kind of, let's do that. You know, there was a real honest sense of teamwork about it. We all just, that was real. That was between the actors. It's like, what do we do now? You know, and, you know, even Susie, although misguided, she was going to help. Greg needs me, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't ever like, oh, I'm just scared, I'm going to give up. Nothing.
Right.
I don't know if that was the 80s, if that's Jim Wynorski and Steve Mitchell's writing, if that was just the cast that it all came together that way. It's like, no one intended to die, you know? No one gave up and was just like, I'm scared. I don't know, but I don't think that really came into play until later on, like past the 80s, but I don't know that for sure. Where it was just kind of like, there was a thing of like that for a while, it's kind of seemed like, rather than the characters being the focus of horror, for a while it became the monster or the, you know, whatever it was the star of the show. And I think then you saw the monster's a focus, whether it be whoever it is, you know, and that takes center stage, and then everybody knows a whole bunch of people are going to die, and so it was less character, less gung-ho character stuff, and more almost like that's where the final girl trope came in. And I hated it at first. It's like, what's a final girl? I didn't even hear that till like the early. That came along with the Manic Pixie when they started categorizing stuff. That's about the same time. But that minimizes it. It's like, instead of playing a character, it's just like, well, I was one of the last cardboard cutouts, and nah, you didn't get me. And I thought that really, the final girl, she's more than just the final person that, you know, happens to outwit the monster. I didn't like it, but of course now I do, because I always find a way to roll with what's coming at me. You know, if it's Scream Queen, I go, well, there's a queen in it. If it's a final girl, it's like, that's badass. I can hang with that. Because why fight it? It's not going to change. So.
Well, to piggyback off that real quick, and then I'll bump it back over to Kevin. Again, something else that really always stood out to me about Chopping Mall is that there isn't real conflict between the characters as well. No. Like, you get a genuine sense that these people like each other, they like hanging around each other, and you can always sort of tell when like characters are just together for a purpose for the narrative, and they don't feel like characters that would really hang out. And I'm curious, did Jim give you guys a lot of time to sort of find that chemistry, or did that just sort of happen?
Oh no, it was nothing of the sort.
I mean, there's usually never downtime on a Corman movie, but I was, just wondering if, like, running around the mall or.
Nope, none of that.
Wow.
None of
It's
that.
interesting because you're right. They all seemed, and that's one thing that bothers me when I watch horror movies now is, you know, it's like the 5 people they're going to some cabin in the woods, and I'm like, why are they hanging out together? They don't seem to like each other.
If I have to watch another horror movie where it's a couple who are just in the middle of like their failing marriage before the monster comes, like, I get it, marriage is hard and you guys are going to work through it. I know, we know this. So it's just nice to see characters who genuinely want to be around each other, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, and I thought the relationship that you started to establish with, I can't remember the character.
Ferdy.
Yes, was like adorable too. You're both just adorable people, kind of thrown together, but there was chemistry there. You weren't just like, let's go off in the corner and make out like all the teen movies today. It was like, let's watch, you know, a horror movie on TV, which I thought was so cute and so much more interesting than what I had seen or what I have seen in the past.
Thank you.
Plus, I had a little bit of crush on him. He was kind of cute.
He's adorable. He still is. He looks exactly the same.
I know. I looked him up. I was like, damn, he's still going.
Yeah, it's crazy. We just naturally kind of fell into that, and you know, looking back on it now, yes, it's about killer robots and all that stuff, and it's an 80s horror movie. It's a love story between Ferdy and Allison. I mean, Chuck picked up on it because he wrote that love theme, Allison's theme, and what the, you know, the Killbot, he had the Killbot like, oh, this is when the Killbot's thinking. And I thought, holy cow, he really, you know, put his soul into this thing, because after you go, yeah, that's the Killbot thinking. But my song just makes me tear up every time I hear it to this day, which is really schmaltzy. And please don't mock. You can mock me. I mean, I know it's
no, that's so
no, I think
sweet.
that's so cute. I love it.
But you know, then you can hear it when he's going between, he's wrapping them together and they're playing at the same time at the end when I'm like running from the thing. And it's just, I just think that that's something about that song, I think. It either people, it touches people on a subliminal level, or maybe not even subliminal, but it's very moving. And it's, you know, I don't know where that he got the inspiration for that song, but it really endures to me. All of it, all of the music. He updated it last year, so there are updated versions. We brought them into the present for Chopping Mall, and they're on YouTube right now.
Huh.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
they should really do like a re-release of that soundtrack this year for the anniversary and put the new stuff on. That'd be cool.
Well, yeah, it would be. I mean, they did one, but it wasn't the old. It was I don't know who did it. It wasn't authorized by anybody. So I haven't heard it actually. I'm sure it's just the same music. I'm sure it is, you know, upgraded with today's standards of recording or whatever. But yeah, well, when they did the Blu-ray, that was not Lionsgate that did the Blu-ray, or the releasing company, or the Blu-ray releasing company. It was Jim and Steve. It's a labor of love.
Wow.
And they restored the whole thing themselves.
Wow.
I'm actually shocked that like Scream Factory wouldn't have gone after that.
They bought it after they did it. After it was done.
Oh, okay.
Lionsgate and Scream Fest got together and they went. They bought it. It was already done. And
oh, okay. Because I still have my old DVD of it, so I haven't made the upgrade yet because I don't get, like, a lot of people get all the freebie movies, and so I have to. It's one of those where I'm like, well, I have it on DVD, and sometimes I get attached to DVD menus in a weird way. So like, I still will never get rid of House of 1,000 Corpses. It's got the best menu ever. So yeah, so I still have it on DVD. So I have to upgrade.
Yeah, a lot of people still had things that they taped off when it was on cable, and they're like, where can I get a decent? My copy's falling apart. And now I guess there's on YouTube or eBay, on eBay you can buy cassettes of Chopping Mall, and they're like going for almost $50. Like more than the Blu-ray is going for, which is interesting. I couldn't believe it.
There's a lot of that lately. There's a lot of movies that are being released on VHS. And it's like, do they even sell VHS I mean, I have one, but I don't think they even sell them anymore, do they?
I have one that plays too, but I'm hanging on to it for dear life. I should have replaced it a long time ago, but I have it in case I need it.
Yeah, we have one that's like a VHS to DVD converter if we want it.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
That we bought like years ago off of Amazon. So I have a feeling with the resurgence of vinyl, I feel like VHS somehow is going to make that stand. I don't know how long that the wave will last for, but I think is now that we've all sort of come to grips with how we've over technological sort of rely like this over reliance on technology these days. Like I think there's going to be this sort of pushback sort of post pandemic where I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more things get like retro releases on VHS, which I'm all for. Like I think it's fun.
I loved holding a VHS in my hand, like going to the video store, holding it in my hand. Yeah, it's like you own it. It's mine. I love it.
Yeah, it had weight.
Yeah.
But I think that like the whole thing with the VHS is that it degraded, and ostensibly the Blu-ray is not going to degrade. I don't know if it will or not. But when I saw the vinyl coming back, I guess it's only natural that. But like I said, I don't know how long that's going to last because VHS does degrade. But they might have thought, yeah, good, it degrades. We can sell it again.
It's true. You'd have to rebuy them.
What are we doing? We're screwing ourselves out of business here. We go to something that'll never degrade.
I think behind me is my Star Wars trilogy VHS that I still won't get rid of because it's the original versions too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Kelli, because going back to Chopping Mall for a moment, because you're obviously right now virtually surrounded by the killbots, which again is just so fun. We should have done something fun, Kevin. Should have done like virtual, like put ourselves in stores or something in a mall.
That would have been good.
You're gonna get a Killbot birthday card, so
yes, I will take it.
Online.
I will take it. So I want to ask, because I know one of the trickiest things in shooting any movie are always the effects, whether they're makeup effects, or you've got mechanized, creations like the killbots. And I know Robert Short's a fantastic guy who is brilliant at what he does, but like, was it harder to sort of navigate certain scenes with them? Like, were they just, did they do what they needed to do, or were they divas on set?
Oh, please, honey. Actually, they were on a remote, the ones that moved. There was one that the head turned, who did the thank you, that kind of thing, and one whose arm went. And then there was one on a remote control, and then I would be running away from it on a dolly. It would be on a dolly, so I had to fake run really fast because I couldn't outrun the thing. The DP would have killed me, and I already knew that because I had done the Zero Boys beforehand, and it was. I felt like within an inch of my life, if I passed the camera, he was going to kill me because we were out in the dark and it was wet and it was, it was like, please don't outrun me. And I went, okay. And I got the message right away. So I kind of knew how you're supposed to do it. But that's movie magic. It really is. So, and then they almost died because Roger decided that he didn't want to pay for all the special effects of the lasers. Yeah.
I find that shocking, to be honest.
What? Because we don't need that many lasers. Oh man, we thought that was going to sink the whole thing right there.
They weren't very good shots, though, I have to say. No. There was one scene where like three of them were standing right in the middle of the mall, and the laser's just going right through them.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. It was very expensive. I guess more expensive then than it was today, and it was a new technology. And I'm sure that most of the budget went there. And Roger was like, "We don't need that." But we
That's
did.
Funny. That's crazy.
Kevin, did you want to go next, or do you want me to go back? What would you like to do?
I would like to. I want to ask a little bit about Night of the Comet, if I can.
Okay, I was going to ask if we could talk a little bit about Night of the Comet, because I will always talk Night of the Comet.
Would you like me to change my background?
We are not
Yes,
that
please,
demanding
no.
of a show.
I
Night of
can't.
the Comet.
What? Sorry.
That's okay. So I haven't seen that in probably 20 something years either. So that was super fun, because it was actually more serious than I remember it, which I really appreciated. Also, Catherine Mary Stewart, she looks
Yes.
just like my sister at the same age. So that was fascinating to me. But what I found, what I was going to ask you actually, because you, and only because you just mentioned it, what mall did you film that one in?
You know what? I think it was, I remember laughing. It was, oh gosh, I don't think that mall was actually in use temporarily. And what was the name of the street? And I laughed, Oxnard. They said, you're going to Oxnard. And I went, Oxnard is the name of a street? Like, yes. It's like, how annoying to have somebody who doesn't know Los Angeles to be on this side. I had no idea where I was. So everything was, like a challenge trying to find everything at night.
Yeah.
So you know what? Probably people know more than I do where that mall is.
I'm wondering if that was the old Macy's building
Could have been.
that used to be there. Now they
Oh.
turned it into a mall, like an actual like outdoor mall. Because I live right down the street from it. I'm looking to see really quick if I can find it. Because
Is that-
sometimes night
what city is that in?
it'd be in Valley, so like probably like around North Hollywood or somewhere around there.
I know where you're talking about. That makes sense.
Probably was.
So I'm curious. I
But
was
you
just
also-
sort of assumed it was downtown because it had sort of that bigger than life feeling to it.
It
It
did.
did.
Let's see.
I was curious too as to how, I mean, there was a lot of shots of downtown with nobody in them. How did they go about doing that?
We shot at weird times, like 3 a.m. on a Christmas morning,
Did you really?
Yeah, well, and then we'd wait for the lights. We shot, we'd do as much as we could. If we were ready on time, we'd shoot some night stuff, and then we'd wait for the sun to come out, and we'd shoot the day stuff. And
Wow.
but we didn't have CGI back then, so
Yeah.
if I mean, there are some things in there that you can see. And I remember sitting in dailies one time, and it looked really. The shots of downtown looked really good until all of a sudden the producer, Wayne Crawford, started yelling. I thought, what's he yelling about? It's window washers. And sure enough, there are window washers.
Oh no!
Those days killed the shot. You couldn't CGI them out. They were there.
Oh,
But as it is,
no.
there are enough snafus in that movie to keep people who like to find mistakes very happy. It's like,
Maybe they were zombie window washers. Who knows? Like
Could
maybe they
be.
it's
were.
got stuck up there forever and ever.
Yep. Just had to keep on doing it. Keep on doing it.
Well, I wanted to ask because I read something really interesting, and I didn't until I was sort of digging around. I didn't realize this, but your character in that movie, Samantha, who is just adorable, and I love how she has such a very different approach to what's happening in Night of the Comet versus Reggie. But what's interesting, and I know he's sort of a weird topic these days, but I do know that when Joss Whedon was coming up with the character of Buffy, he took Samantha from Night of the Comet as part of his inspiration. How cool is that? Because you were sort of the archetype for like badass young women, who were still fun, kind of flirty, but smart, and they could take care of themselves.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm so
It's
lucky.
awesome.
It's the best. It's really the best. Well, I remember being on Hollywood, and I don't walk Hollywood Boulevard, but I remember being on a Hollywood Boulevard and seeing when the movie came out, a bus passed me and it said Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I went, they ripped me off. It was my first thought. They ripped me off. So I did recognize it right away. It's like, but that's Sarah Michelle Gellar really got that. It's the smart alecky, and yet, it's almost a reluctant hero kind of thing. I didn't see a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not because I didn't watch it, but I wasn't watching a lot of TV at the time, but I should go back and watch the whole thing. Anyway, that was the most flattering thing ever. And then there were several books out now about Joss Whedon, and they called and they asked me to interview, and I said, I'd never met him or anything like that. They said, well, we want to we want to interview you because of Buffy. And so I said, well, okay. I mean, but I made it into his biography and I don't know the man. So
Wow. I didn't know
yeah.
any of that. That's amazing. And when you say that, it makes total sense. Total sense.
Isn't that something? I mean, if I died tomorrow, that's really something. I'd be like, well, when they say to me, what have you done, Kelly? I always say, well, Buffy, right?
You wouldn't have the character of Buffy without me, that's for sure.
Right?
That's amazing. I mean, I just got that again, how amazing that was. Thanks for bringing that up, because you live with something, you kind of forget about it, and then, oh yeah, that's true. That's pretty great.
I think we've talked about this before, but also because I love there's sort of this throwaway line about the use of guns in Chopping Mall. And of course, you and Reggie are very acclimated with them in Night of the Comet. Was that sort of something that was always intentional? Like on the part, like it almost feels like in some ways, like you could pluck Samantha out of Night of the Comet and throw her in this mall, because they both could handle themselves very well.
So there was actually a correlation between Night of the Comet and Chopping Mall, because Jim Wynorski had seen Night of the Comet and he thought that would be a good Allison, maybe like a little less, Samantha, and more sweet, but even though Samantha's sweet, but there's she's got a edge to where that Allison is more serious, but so that's why he decided he wanted me to do it. To do the role, because he'd already seen it. And then when we were in there and I take the gun away from Ferdy, because Ferdy's like, he's fumbling with it, and I take it and I shoot the robot, the cord of the elevator so that it crashes.
Yeah.
He said, I want you there. Why don't you just say, because throughout the movie, if you notice, people keep saying nice shot, nice shot. That's just set up for at the end. Nice shot. So, I mean, you could see it set up when I throw something behind me and it goes right in the wastebasket.
Yeah.
Nice. So they say that to me a few times. And that's the setup for the end. So he said, why don't you say my dad's a Marine? I said, really? Because I don't think I should say that. And I never disagree with my director, but I just thought, come on, let's just stand on its own 2 feet. And he said, I want you to say it. So I did. I said, but actually, Samantha's dad was a Green Beret, not a Marine. It's a difference. I don't care. Nobody cares. Just say it. I said, okay, all right. So yeah, and people do notice that all the time. One thing though that I thought was obvious, but people don't really notice it, is the nice shot thing that happens throughout the movie, all leading up to the have a nice day at the end. I mean, so it's not completely out of, it's not completely a shock that Allison can do that by the time she does it.
She's not a Mary Sue, as they say.
What's that?
She's not a Mary Sue, isn't it Mary Sue?
Yeah, I think that's what
they just like
terminology.
They just happen to be able to do anything,
Yeah. Well, I noticed that they always, and to this day, when there's a final girl, you always have to set her up like, my dad's a Marine, my dad's a Green Beret, my dad's a Navy SEAL, to explain why she knows how to do this stuff. We need to come up with something different, because I mean, I did it a few times, right, as a final girl when I was younger, but they're still saying it, and so every time somebody says my dad is, I giggle, because like, no kidding. I guess you're the final girl then, right?
I think your next does a really good job of it, because I think she says how she went and she used to train people in survival training.
Yeah.
So she sort of takes ownership of it. So that I think that, but Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett are smart enough to sort of sidestep that. So,
and frankly, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know how else you explain that, but that's a very good way to do it. You're just,
maybe women are just awesome.
Well,
that's just how it is.
And also, rather than just being, hey, I'm tough. What I took well, Samantha's operating from shock and grief underneath all that. But for Allison, I decided, I mean, there's something that takes over where you're just very methodical and you're great in a crisis. And normally that person has been through trauma. And that's what they do. They go, let's do it. And so that's what I use for Allison.
Nice.
Interesting.
more serious, but yeah. Yeah, but there's always a reason somebody can motivate through that stuff, you know, and it has to do with their makeup, their psychological makeup.
Interesting. What, when you were gone, when you disappeared for a second, Heather and I were talking about, I told her that I noticed when I was watching Night of the Comet, it takes place, what it was released in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we talk a lot about, today, we talk a lot about the lack of diversity. And what I thought was so great was that one of the leads was a Latino guy. And it wasn't a question, it wasn't commented on, it just was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And you even at one point, and we talked about this a little bit, but at one point you mentioned to your sister, you say like, what if he's gay?
Right.
But it wasn't like, she didn't react like ew. She just reacted like, oh crap, what if he's gay?
Yeah, we didn't think of it. Yeah.
Right. And I loved that it was just.
Because that's how we were in real life. I don't know why the movies were like so weird about it.
Right.
Somebody once said to me, the first time I ever heard myself mentioned in a movie was when you said, what if Hector's gay?
Mhm.
And so I love you for that. And
Oh,
I couldn't believe it. I thought, you know what? I think you're right. Because I couldn't. It's the first time anyone ever referred to me in a story was when you said that. I know. I feel like crying right now. I know. It was just, but Tom was married to a Latino woman, and so a Latina, and so that was really important to him because it's Los Angeles.
right. Yep.
It would have been so white bread without him.
For sure. But it was surprising. It wasn't surprising in like a shocking way, but it was like happily surprising. Like looking back at these movies and going, and it's actually then sad to see like, how did we get it so wrong in the next coming centuries where it's like everything is white and there's just no diversity anywhere. I mean, now we're getting back to more diversity, but it was nice to see. And it kind of made me happy to
yeah, me too. And you know what, it was funny. I never crossed my mind. I never questioned it, to think that looking back now, it was like, that was cool that we did that. It was just normal that we did that as far as I was concerned. But now, I mean, given things that are, like I just said earlier, it's like, well, I had these great parts and then all of a sudden victim roles were all the rage. And it was hard to find somebody that was capable of taking care of herself. And I never saw that coming either. So in retrospect, you can really see there was a real, something really cool happening. And I'm not sure what happened there because there was something.
a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I have a theory. I think it's honestly with the popularization of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I really feel like after Nightmare 3, once they decided it was okay to kill Nancy, I really feel like that's when it shifted, where people were going to Nightmare simply to see the creative ways that Freddy was going to kill people. And I feel like
it's kind of like that too.
Yeah. And I feel like after like Friday 4, that's when those characters started to get less and less proactive about standing up to Jason. Like it was all about sort of, who was Jason going to kill? How was he going to kill them? And I really feel it was like that sort of 1-2 punch. And that was around, well, Nightmare 3 was 87 and Friday 4 was 84. So I feel like right in that mid 80s sweet spot, I think that's when I think those roles really started to shift a bit.
It's interesting.
When you've got a franchise, the thing that keeps people coming back is the monster.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's interesting you say that, because I remember as a kid, I mean, it took me a long time to start watching horror movies because I was terrified. I wouldn't even go see Poltergeist at the theater. I refused. And now it's one of my favorites. But I remember seeing, I think I saw Friday the 13th 4 first. And then I kind of started catching up. But I saw the telekinesis one, 7.
Yes.
And a New Blood or whatever it's called, in the theater. And it was the first time that I did notice that the audience was cheering when he would kill somebody. And I remember actually feeling sick because I was like, why are they doing it? And it was, you know what it was? It was that damn, he was whacking the girl in the sleeping bag. And that, like, I can't even watch that scene. Like, I'll cover my eyes if I watch it. But I remember thinking that's a weird shift. Like, we're not supposed to be rooting for them. And there was like a guy with his family in front of me. and they were younger kids. I'm like, this is, I mean, I'm not a prude, but I was like, this is not appropriate. And it made me uncomfortable. And I think you're right. There was a shift of let's see what the monster can do rather than what the people can do.
That's what I meant about the monster becoming the focus of the story. And then all of a sudden this term final girl came in. Like she was, it was the people were less important than the because the monster is the franchise. Why did they think they could kill Nancy but not Freddie? But they should kill Freddie. There's no story. Actually, funny thing is that Heather, I auditioned for part of Nancy, and Heather Langenkamp auditioned for the part of Samantha.
Are you serious?
Really?
Wow.
That's crazy.
I don't know how close I got to being Nancy. Probably not very close, but she got very close to being Samantha, because one person wanted the sisters to look similar, and the producer said no. Look at every movie. What's interesting is look at and he I think he finally got Tom when he said, because Tom showed me what is it? Our something Friday, Our Man Friday, or Carol Lombard.
Oh, good.
My Man Godfrey. My Man Godfrey.
Oh, okay.
And in that, if you'll notice, one sister was brunette and the other one was very blonde. And the producer said that way there's something for everybody, and there's a real contrast already built in the look of the characters. So I don't know how important it is that they look like sisters, because I questioned that too. I said one day, I said, we look nothing alike. And the producer said to me, yeah, I know, there's something for everyone in this movie. He was kidding. That you can't say that today. He was kidding, but I think that's probably smart. And if you notice, there's a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
On television, I always go, like if I'm watching Law and Order, I always go, well, look at that casting. They actually really look like that person's kid. But that's television. It's different,
Yeah.
This whole thing, if you're going to hang a movie on two characters, you don't want them to be similar.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little off the subject, but when I was reading something about Last Night with Rob Lowe and Demi Moore, that at first they weren't going to cast them because they look like brother and sister.
Ooh,
and ever since then, I can't look at it the same way.
Right.
But they do. They're very similar in look, which is interesting. But I like that they don't cast so similarly. And then we got Kelly to be in Night of the Comet.
Well, also, I mean, if there's name value in that case. I mean, who are you going to give up, Rob Lowe or Demi Moore?
It's true. It's true.
That's a hard one. If you got both of them, you're not going to mess with it, I wouldn't think. It's like, we got both of them, just shut up.
Especially coming off of like Sin Almost Fire and stuff too. So
Yeah.
Kelly, I wanted to ask you, because again, I don't think I've ever asked you this, but there's obviously sort of that showdown that happens between Samantha and Doris in this movie. Now, did you guys really hit each other? Because like I still when she I know there's always stage punching and stuff, but the first smack, because it just feels like one of those little whacks that you would get from your parent, always throws me off a little bit. And I'm just like, did you guys go for that? Like, it's a tough one. Maybe it's because like, I don't know, because my mom was a hitter when I was a kid. I don't mean to bring child trauma or anything, but I'm just like, because again, when I was rewatching last night, I knew the punch, but it was the little whack that got me. And I was like, oh, so did you guys go for it in there? Or
it was in the script. If you notice, especially for the 80s, the dysfunctional family was flourishing in that family. I mean, in the room, it was so dysfunctional, but it was normal too. It was presented as a normal thing. I loved that about it. But it was written that way. So, and from my previous experience on the soap, where I had cat fights with my mom all the time, I played this horrendous teenage girl who did everything evil. And anyway, so we had a slap scene one time, and we were standing there, and we had a stunt coordinator, and it never looked real. I finally said, Louise, just hit me. I will live, and we'll get out of here, because we're going to be standing all night long, And we're going to get, because you're going to get a little hurt if you keep doing it over and over again, even if it's a punch pull, even if it's fake, it's going to be hard on you. One little slap and you're done is really good. And so we always will, she dies laughing every time to this day. She's like, I couldn't believe it. She goes, Louise, just hit me. But you know what? It works. And so I finally said to Sharon, I go, just hit me. And she goes, no. And I said, I won't hit you back. But if you just hit me, it'll be enough. And so, you know, I'll play it too. You don't have to haul off and lambast me, but just really hit me. Don't try to miss my face or anything like that. It'll never play. And so she did, but she, you know, she really stopped. But you can sell that if you want, especially if you put a little sound effect in there.
Yeah.
And what was funny about it is, I hit her back, which is bad enough, but then, you know, it's like prize fighter time, because I had to roll. I needed that momentum in order to roll through the couch and end up by the television set. I needed it. So if I had just enough of her arm swinging, then I could take that momentum and roll myself over there. But not if it was fake. I just had to see her arm coming, and then I would do it. So yeah, we'd still be standing there. But my theory is trying to fake it can hurt you more than because how many people are great stunt people, you know? It's just better to just do it as realistically as you can without actually hurting anybody, because nobody's going to really hit you as hard as they can. But the other actor can sell it, and then you're done. That was my theory. So yeah, but you know what it took to get, talking about hurting somebody, I probably traumatized her by telling her I wanted her to really hit me, but she just went, I mean, she didn't hit me, you know, and I didn't hit her back, but it was just to get it rolling so that it was actual. So you couldn't say, oh shit, you can see that, excuse me. Oh crap, you can see that she missed her completely. Cause you can see that. I see that all the time in stage fighting in the movies. I go, there's no way he made contact. But you know, I mean, what are you gonna do? Then you're editing, and it, you know, they've wrapped everything. You can't go back and redo it again, and you just got to try to work with the fact that there's no good take of that punch hitting. So you got, you know, it's a tough one, you know, especially when you're dealing with people who don't, you know, we're not John Wayne, and we don't do that stuff all the time. So that's how that happened.
Kevin, do you have any last questions so we can wrap up? Because we've had Kelli on for, gosh, almost an hour now. So I feel terrible.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh, it's fun.
Okay.
Don't feel terrible. I enjoyed this. What do you have? Do you have anything going on coming up?
Yes, I have. Well, I did the festival circuit from our Zoom rooms because, but we had the deep ones, which is a H.P. Lovecraft treatment, well, a treatment of a story. And I'm in that. And then I guess there might be a part 2.
Nice.
And I have a short coming out called The Video Store. It's all about the love of the video store. And my little boy, my son, gets on his bike with his friends and goes to the video store all the time. And it's about aliens. And James Duval plays like a Man in Black kind of thing. And it's really, I can't wait for it to come out. But they decided to do extra stuff with the special effects. And so as a result, it's still not out, but it will be out eventually one of these days. And then we also did a well-respected man that did the festival circuit and did really well too. And then I had 3 things going for last year, but they all didn't, you know, we'll see which one of them survived COVID, you know, besides us.
I think that's how it's going to go for a lot of people this year, is just to see what's eventually going to shake out.
Yeah. But one of them is about a virus, and one of them is a true story about somebody who was fearing for their life for real. And to this day, she's still alive. So yeah, I do have some interesting stuff coming up, but I have no idea when we're going to shoot it. And that's okay. I'd rather everyone be safe. I'm not one of these people, we got to go shoot. I'm not like that at all. I just think, let's just wait, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Where can fans find you online if they want to say hello and send you happy 25th anniversary wishes for Chopping Mall?
Go and vote for my cat.
And vote for your kitty, Persephone.
She's still in the running after today. Let's see. I have a website, Kelli Maroney. I'll spell my name because everyone gets it wrong. I did, what's the name? Gosh, you know what? I'm losing my mind. I did True Blood, and they spelled my name wrong in the credits. So this happens. Don't feel bad. People who misspell my name. It's going on to this day. It's KelliMaroney, and my name's everywhere. It's like there's a website with everything that's going on, like where I'm going to be, and there's a store on there if you want to get a memorabilia picture and different articles. Like for example, I'll put a link to this one, and then I'm on Facebook as Kelli Maroney, and then actress Kelli Maroney, and then I have a club, Kelli Maroney Fan Club, which is also very cool. Then I'm on Instagram as Kelli Maroney, and I just before we came on, I think I saw my Instagram coming back up.
Oh, I heard that you were having issues.
Yeah, well, what happens with the Instagram is that they are upgrading, and then occasionally when it upgrades, it misses the line of code, and then it shoves a bunch of people off. And it did it to me like 3 times this week. So, and
I
then
found you. You're good.
yeah, I thought, yeah, I'm good now. It just came back up. So we were pressuring them a lot on Twitter to help me because it's kind of a disaster, like, you know, for a lot of people. Some people, you know, they just don't really care if Instagram is up or not, but I really care. And then I'm on Twitter as Kelli Maroney, one word. It's like, why make it hard for people to find me? You know, I think I'll come up with something clever that no one will know it's me. It's
you could be Kelli Mahoney, but Kelly with a Y, and then you throw the H in the Maroney, and then you've totally thrown people off. And just wear a mustache, and nobody will be any wiser.
It's very complicated, Allison. I mean, Heather. Why did I call you Allison?
I don't know.
It's very. Did you?
It's been a long time.
Holy cow! That's
the wine.
And then I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok, but I haven't used it yet, really, as real Kelli Maroney because somebody already had my name, which never used to happen. But she's into science. She's a you know, quite a bit younger than I, and she is into science, I think. So if you find her, it's not me. You'll know it right away. She already had my TikTok, or somebody like her already had my TikTok. So now it's real Kelli Maroney. But everything else is just Facebook Kelli Maroney, you know, actress Kelli Maroney, real Kelli Maroney, Kelli Maroney. It's really easy to find me.
Well, that is awesome. And I hope people do find you. And Kelli, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a total blast.
Okay, my cat just woke up.
Oh, is she ready for her close-up?
Are you ready? Oh.
She looks scared, Kelli.
Well, I think she had a bad dream because yeah, anyway. She's coming this way, but trust me, she won't do what we want her to do. Another thing. Well, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for having me. And, you know,
Thank you.
I think it's amazing. And I'm so grateful to have been in a few things that people just love to this day. And, you know, that's very fulfilling for me. And I really appreciate it. And I have to thank the fans. You know, I wouldn't be sitting here without them. So I always make sure that everybody knows how much I appreciate them.
Wow, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And for those of you watching, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Wait. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Until next week. Thank you. All right.